So the owners of Enyobeni Tavern in East London will be sentenced later today after being found guilty of selling alcohol to a minor. The minor in question was a 17-year-old who testified that he was sold alcohol at the establishment when 21 teenagers lost their lives. The tavern owners, Vuyokazi and her husband, Siyakhangela Ndevu, are expected to be held accountable for the deaths of the teenagers at a later stage at the Mdantsane court. But let's get reaction from one of the parents who lost their child that night. We're joined by Mr. Khululekile Ncandana. Baba, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think let's start with your initial reaction when you heard that they'd found guilty on the charge of selling alcohol to a minor. Your initial thoughts, Baba?
Good morning, Naledi, and good morning to your viewers.
What were your thoughts, sir, when you heard about the fact that the couple had been found guilty of selling alcohol to a minor? Was that justice enough for you?
Well, for me, it is justice because the court has found them guilty of breaking the liquor laws. So it shows really that the court has found them guilty. So at least it shows that we are moving a step forward.
And are you satisfied with the process that is still going to unfold? I know that we will see the couple heading to the Mdantsane court where they'll face charges of essentially the lives of those 21 young people. Are you happy with the pace as well of how things were going? Because soon after the incident of that tragic day, we know that many of the parents of these young people have come out and said, we need more answers and we need authorities to move at a faster pace.
We wouldn't like to rush anything, but I would like to allow the court to take its processes to make sure that all the information that is needed before the court, it has been gathered until such time that the court can start the proceedings. But as for this one, now we are on the final stages of this case. As we know that this case is only about selling alcohol to the underage children. It's not about the death of the children. There is another court that will be handling that matter.
Well, at the end of this process, I mean, if you were to think of an ideal sentence, and not just now the sentencing that we're expecting in this matter of the selling of alcohol to a minor, but once we see them face charges as well for the killing of these young people, what is an ideal sentence that you'd like to see?
Well, it's difficult to say what an ideal sentence will be, because we all know the court is working on the evidence that is before the court. So my expectation is for the investigators to do a proper investigation and put that before the court, so that the court, when it makes its decision, it can make a proper decision.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to see a just court process, and I think that's quite understandable. Let's talk a little bit about who you've lost here. Your son, Naledi Moleo, was, I believe, 17 on the day that he passed. I mean, talk to me a little bit about how you go back to that day, what you remember, certainly around hearing of his passing and 20 other young people. And perhaps tell us a little bit about Moleo, who he was.
Well, he was a young man who had a brighter future and who was doing a grade 12, looking forward to make good things for himself. But unfortunately, because of that incident, we lost him. And it is painful. And it is still painful even today. And this is a wound that will never heal. But we ask God to travel this road with us, so that to try and ease the pain. But this is the pain that will never go away. This is a wound that will never heal. I mean, to lose a child, it's so painful, more especially in the way that we lost our child. So it is a very, very matter, and we are looking forward. We would like to see justice for what happened to him. So as long as there is no justice, it will never be easy for us to make closure. I mean, even to say make closure, that's an understatement. There's no way that someone can make a closure in an incident like that of losing a child in the manner that we lost our child.
And of course, one of the findings was that how these young people died was that they died of suffocation. And I know that you have expressed dissatisfaction with that explanation.
Well, most definitely. That's why we would love the court to have some accessors to see to it as to really what transpired in that fateful night.
Talk to me about the community that you're living in, Mr. Ncandana. I mean, there certainly is the shock that the country had as a result of that tragic day when these 21 young people lost their lives. But have you seen something in the community that says that, there perhaps is a change of thinking within the community, how tavern owners are operating in the community, the way that young people perhaps are being observed and protected in the community? Have lessons been learned in the community since that tragic night?
Well, to be honest with you, most of the children who passed away they were not from that community. Even myself, I'm not residing in that community. I'm residing in another community, but the incident happened in other township. But what I can say is after that, you still can say that the laws are still being broken by the owners of the tavern. So I think the government has to make stringent laws with regard to that, to make sure that no child is underage is even allowed into a place like that. For example, that place, they were saying that there were airtime was being sold there, but in a tavern, according to the law, a child is not allowed to even go into a place that is selling alcohol. That's according to the law.
Yeah, and I mean, what we've seen as well as the Eastern Cape Liquor Board saying that, of course, they welcome the judgment, but say that they want a harsher prison sentence for the owners of that tavern in Enyobeni. But one would argue that the liquor board has a bigger responsibility than just calling for for harsher sentencing. Do you see the liquor board, particularly in that community and where you are residing at the moment, actively going into these taverns after this tragic incident to inspect and see that people are compliant?
Well, it is their responsibility as the holders of the people who are licensees to sell liquor. So I think after that incident, they started to go out to do some programs, awareness programs. But even that, I still think there's still more that can be done to make sure that these laws are working. Because if you remember, there's still a law that is before the parliament that needs to be passed to make sure that we safeguard the safety of the children, that makes sure that alcohol or even children, they are not allowed even near those places. In the older days, you will never see a tavern in a place near the schools or near the churches. But in these days, you find that people, they are getting licenses to sell alcohol near schools and even near churches, which is totally unacceptable.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go now, sir. But I think before I let you go, let me ask you this. I know that what we saw was yourselves as parents having organized yourselves, or you guys still organized activities that you have moving forward as you watch the road to justice for your children take place.
Thank you very much, Naledi.
Are you still organized with the other parents, Baba Ncandana? And what activities are you embarking on with the other parents?
Yes, we are. We are still organized as parents of the children who pass away there. We always see one another. We always had gatherings and meetings to chat about the way forward. As you know, that last year we had a first anniversary of which that's something that we want to do each and every anniversary of that incident, to get together, to pave the way forward so that in our areas that we live in, things like that are never to happen again.
Yeah, never to happen again. So we really do appreciate your time. That's Mr. Khululekile Ncandana, who is the parent of Bongolethu Ncandana, who passed away in that tragic incident at Enyobeni Tavern, where 21 teenagers lost their lives. And of course, he's reacting to news of the Enyobeni Tavern owners and operation manager having been found guilty of selling alcohol to a minor. They still have to face charges to account for the deaths of the 21 young people at the Mdantsane court at a later stage.